So what we want to do is we're going to play exactly what Stephen A. Smith had to say in regards to Jason Whitlock, to Chris Mad Dog Russo, and then we're going to come back and continue on the show. Take a listen to what he had to say here.
Did you put yourself sort of in the dirt? Could you have avoided the Whitlock situation when you had the big fight with him?
I could have avoided it. I didn't want to. I didn't give a damn, and I still don't give a damn. I'm not backing up from one syllable I uttered. And I will reiterate what I say without saying his name because he is straight trash. And I don't ever want to have anything to do with him.
Okay.
But I will say this. But I will say this to you. He is an individual that has gone about the business of attacking me personally, attacking my contemporaries personally, attacking my friends personally. For 12 years, I never said a word.
He's gotten after you for a long time.
I never said a word. I did not know that. And he's gone after me for a long time because he wanted us. He was a failed experiment at ESPN. He wanted us to help him. Okay, none of us wanted to work with him. None of us wanted to be under the umbrella. Remember, he was the guy that was put over what is now called Anscape, but back then was called the Undefeated. Okay, and this guy could barely get anybody black that wanted to work for him because we all know what he is.
Okay.
And so what I did was
you could sleep at night.
I picked up. You're damn right. I sleep. Matter of fact, the only thing that's made me not sleep well is I wanted to say more. I wanted to say more.
Wow.
But here's the deal. I called. I text Bob Iger, Jimmy Pitaro, Burke Magnus, Dave Roberts. And in Pitaro, Burke Magnus, and Dave Roberts' case, I also emailed them. And I called my pastor. I called my sister Carmen. I called other colleagues. No one, and I mean no one, wanted me to do it. None of them were okay with it. I said, I heard you, but this is my show.
So they all wanted you to pass.
They all wanted me to pass. I said, I'm not passing. Now, after this, I'll pass. But I wanted to do something.
Get it off your chest.
Get it off my chest. And I wanted it to be a situation where whenever this man brought up my name again, the world knew exactly where I stood with him and why.
Now you got
you let it go. I'll never say anything about him again like that. I'll never speak like that publicly again. That's not my style. But do I despise him? You damn right I do.
All right, one last one before you go. I know you're busy, and I appreciate you coming on here today.
So you heard what Stephen A. Smith had to say. What are my thoughts? I think that both of these men benefited from this beef. Let's just be honest. They made some good money along the way. They generated a lot of attention. A lot of people spoke about it. So from a financial standpoint, it did well. Some people say Stephen A. Smith doesn't need the money and blah, 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 blah. I understand that. But from an engagement standpoint and growing his platform, it definitely helped. Because drama sells. Whether we like it or not, it sells. And that's the reason why, that they did it. That's the first thing. The second thing, I think that even though Stephen A. Smith went out there and said all of those things, and he says that he's not ashamed and he would have doubled down, he would do it again. I think there's a part of him, and he probably won't admit this, there's a part of him that probably regrets it. Why? The reason I say that is because he broke character. He broke character. On his show, was Stephen A. Smith cursing? Yeah, occasionally. But in this particular instance, he really, really let loose. And if you know anything about Stephen A. Smith and the company that he works for, it's Disney. And Disney likes to maintain a certain image. So when you do something like that, it's not 100% positive. That's the reason why he had to ask his bosses for permission. No matter how much he says, I have my own podcast, I can do my own thing, he can't. If he could really do his own thing and say what he thinks, then why do you need to discuss that with his daytime employer as he normally says it? In the case of Jason Whitlock, what Jason Whitlock did was he allowed Stephen A. Smith to go off and then said at the end, look at this dude. He just had a total breakdown, right? Because he was cursing and all of that. And at the end of it, Jason Whitlock looked like the person that was more even killed, even though he was actually antagonizing Stephen A. Smith. He knew what he was saying was going to irritate him. And maybe he baited him. And maybe his ultimate goal was to bait him, get him to come outside, and then when he finally does come outside, destroy him with facts. And I think that if we're having a facts argument, and the points that Jason Whitlock brought up, I think Jason Whitlock easily won. But, it's Stephen A. Smith, and he's a man of his word.